The background and history.
There are hundreds of gangs in South Africa. They share certain similarities and goals as all other gangs in the entire globe, which is to control and rule over their turfs, cities, or townships. However, in the South African context, gangs are much different in terms of how they form, operate, and achieve their goals. As mentioned on our previous segment, the top 5 gangs in South Africa. The main gangs have their roots in the South African prison system, and this is probably due to the bandits originally forming after the discovery of minerals and natural resources. But after all of the hostels housing men were established, there became a need to house all the people of color, away from the booming suburbs in the cities, where all the economic opportunities were possible. All these people were relocated into clustered townships and flats where they were stacked well away from booming European descendants. They were also indoctrinated with lower-grade education named Bantu education system. Strict laws were implemented to restrict the movement of people of color where they had curfews and had to carry special permits called passes. The Pass Laws Act of 1952 required black South Africans over the age of 16 to carry a passbook, known as a dumb pass, everywhere and at all times. The dumb pass was similar to a passport, but it contained more pages filled with more extensive information than a normal passport. This made it easier for their owners and the local authorities to control their movements. The first time pass documents were used to restrict the movement of non-European South Africans was in the early 1800s. To widen the gap, the government took away the right for indigenous people to own any land, vote, or move freely. This situation forced blacks and colored people to depend on working at white people's farms and factories for a minimum wage, and some were exploited as slave labor. Under the Group Areas Act, the cities and towns of South Africa were divided into segregated residential and business areas. Thousands of coloreds, blacks, and Indians were removed from areas classified for white occupation. The Group Areas Act and the Land Acts maintain residential segregation. Much like the situation in the United States, the relocation of non-white created a situation where they will be concentrated into the so-called projects, townships, and flats. These places later became breeding grounds for all the newly formed gangs, as they were not maintained by the government, therefore leaving criminals to run them. These gangs were often initiated from the prison system and went out to the communities to recruit and grow in numbers, and soon began ruling over them. After the end of apartheid in 1994, when South Africa began receiving a warm welcome from the international community, it also became an opportunity for gangs to connect themselves internationally with other criminal gangs, such as the Sicilian, Mexican, Nigerian, and Asian mafias. These newly found connections expanded the gangs into businesses, such as drug and human trafficking. All the revenue made from these were used to purchase weapons and bribe the police, and this fueled more violence.
Number 5. International cartels.
Martin Evans was jailed in 2006 for fraud and conspiracy to smuggle cocaine. He's one of 9 UK fugitives who were thought to be on the run in Cyprus. Evans was arrested on Saturday as part of a joint operation between British and South African police.
Radovan Krejcir is accused of fleeing the Czech Republic to avoid facing fraud and tax evasion charges. He entered South Africa from the Seychelles in 2007 on a fake passport.
We really have some of the most high-profile international criminals hiding here in our own country, which we don't even know about. Because listen to this story. An alleged major drug boss who is one of the United Kingdom's most wanted fugitives has been sent back home after he was found hiding in Cape Town. His name is Callum Goa, and he's been wanted for major drug trafficking charges for a number of years, along with his mother. This literally sounds like a Hollywood movie. He was tracked down by Interpol along with help from our own police and found hiding in the prominent Cape Town suburb of Constantia, which, in case you don't know, is a super fancy rich area.
The audio that we're about to hear is the last known interview, an interview that I had with Krasimir Kamenov, the #1 figure in organized crime in Bulgaria and the head of the Bulgarian mob.
They're not on my level financially to deal with me on an equal things, that's stupid. I've never have anything with them.
A year and a month after this conversation, Krasimir Kamenov and his wife Gegana were found murdered in a professional execution in their house in Cape Town, South Africa.
Investigations are still underway following the gruesome murder of 4 Bulgarian nationals at a house in Constantia in Cape Town. According to the police, the bodies of 2 men and 2 women were found with gunshot wounds. The motive for the killings is still unclear.
In terms of the international statistics, we are rated 19 out of 193 countries.
The decommissioned guns plus the guns from the amnesty were stored away waiting to be destroyed. And Colonel Prinsloo was a senior officer responsible, one of the gun gurus of the South African Police Service, responsible for the destruction of those guns. Now, some guns were destroyed, but over a period of time, he and others, as the book outlines, saw a profit motive to sell those guns on. And he essentially looked around for a market in the underworld where he could sell illicit weapons. And he did that to the South African gangs.
In South Africa, initiation into a gang doesn't only happen in the prison or the streets. It also takes place in the traditional initiation school, which were originally part of Black people's culture for mentoring young boys into manhood. These traditional initiation schools took place far from the general population, in the mountains, and were a sacred and respected part of African culture, where young men also get circumcised and officially welcomed into manhood. However, these initiation schools have recently came under government scrutiny after they were no longer operating far from the population, but were now operating inside on the outskirts of certain townships in the Vaal Triangle, where they were operated by unqualified young men, who often kidnapped and forced young boys to leave their families and go to the so-called initiation schools to be initiated into street gangs, where their parents also have to pay a ransom for the young boys to be brought back to them as men. These bogus schools came under the spotlight after a number of young boys died while being circumcised forcefully by unqualified young men without any medical background or any equipment.
Number 4. The wrong turns.
They hail from the Vaal Triangle, mainly concentrated in the township of Sebokeng, or SBK as it is popularly known. They are also found in the surrounding areas within the south of Johannesburg, such as Small Farm, Orange Farm and Everton. This gang is unlike most others as it does not possess a lot of firepower like most gangs in the Cape, who are supplied by the South African police. They instead prefer the use of machetes or pangas to hack their victims to death during fights with other smaller gangs. They also are not players in the sale of narcotics, but they prefer business robberies, extortion and mugging people in and around their neighborhood using fear tactics.
Unlicensed initiation schools in the area act as breeding grounds for these gangs, feeding them with new members. Despite attempts of local authorities to counter gangsterism, gang violence continues unabated.
Safika kimi zathi umendleleni ethu sikishini sabe umuntu wena umendleleni sangapha ngavimba sangapha lala.
These men were mostly boys who went to the so-called traditional initiation schools, where they were instead initiated into gangs. They also recruited members inside the Lehaf prison, which was located in Vereeniging area. The wrong turns are said to be inspired by the movie Wrong Turn, where the protagonists often hack their victims and eat them.
Ya movie ni ke shebella go ntene ke rata ya thiane shapeng di delela yani ke tshanga slepe se skana ke go bona ha ka tshwara taile tsa yone sharp nka khona ka pa ke khona tsena batho.
The gangs also kidnap young boys who also often volunteer to join them without the permission of their parents. When these young boys are at the initiation schools, the gang leaders would go to their homes and demand payment from their parent in order to release them and perform a ceremony for their homecoming. If the parent refuse or are unable to pay, the young boys will be tortured and sent to put in some work for the gang as a form of payment. When they return to their neighborhoods, some pray and enjoy the fear that the community has for them and therefore end up mugging ordinary people who would run to the police in vain, as the police are aware of the problem, but nothing has been done so far.
Batho ba rasa like customer di rasa di hweletsa di nkopa go ke bule eng ba bang batla account mblela gona le batho ba bitswa marong 10 ba tlile ba tshwere go dipanga and stuff mona ba check batho.
The wrong turns are seen here publicly attacking this man who was stabbed and hacked to death. This shocking incident happened in broad daylight with hundreds of people watching.
Qatar ya zone 17 Qatar ile bra ba ga imona yo kapa yo ila galwe yo kapa ila galwe kapa ila ga itla kapa ofele bra ba itla kapa ofele wa go githa tla kapa ofele jaka na 7 years zikbolotsi 2010 mara go jota ke go duma 7 years ntwana tse tlang ka mogaka ena le ntwana tse mo 334 ona ji o tshontwana tse re go nkeng ke dipoloditse o ma 334 no a re bua ji mantshola braba go utlwa nna braba go khabathe a se teka a nkhabatha braba go tlo kenela la ke le siko nna ke go gile go ntšinya ka go betse go munyaka e mona mpetu ba e mona le ngolo se le mathi go e mona puti mona mga di renke go buo khabathe o tlo kenelwa braba ka no se kana ke ngao kenelwa ke re tlo shapa go interview go botse go betsetse di tlo ka pofe tlo polisa tsedi braba di tlo polisa tsedi.
On one Saturday evening, members of the Wrong Turn gang stormed a tavern where people were drinking and playing a snooker game. They assaulted the security guard at the gate with machetes, and proceeded to rob and wreck the establishment completely unprovoked. In another instance, they heard a young man singing traditional ritual songs in the township, and they hacked him to death and stripped him of his clothes. They claimed the songs he was singing were scared secrets that belonged to the mountain, and should not be sung in the township. As members of the entire Sibukang got more frustrated by the growing number of hooligans, they had a meeting and planned to target the gang members once and for all. They planned to attack them in the evening, and went on to burn houses that are said to belong to the gang members. The members of the community couldn't locate the gang as they were probably tipped of the manhunt, and instead got 2 teenage girls who are allegedly girlfriends of the gang members. The girls also couldn't locate their boyfriends, but instead took the residents to a local witch doctor, who allegedly supplies members of the gang with magic potions that make them invincible and feared. Cops had to come in and fire rubber bullets in order to rescue the girls from the angry mob. The witch doctor's house was ransacked, and the windows were broken and vandalized.
No, how no ke nka ga create mosebetsi ubane ntwana tse flopan ke ntwana tse nyane ke ntwana tse le gore ntse di student anthola le ding tamile o tshongeng ga etse ba ne di lebra anthola le ding ye bra o ba e mona ska ne ke tshwe ke go bana di dipaka ntse anthola le ding ye bra setting tamile ba ne di lebra ga Everton North di thabe di ba ngata di tjala yone senyang Everton North ntse tamile le lebra ga di bete di ba ngata intla ka sheba strata se o ya kwa tebe le di 8 khake iwa e mona ha ona la ebra ha ona ne wa bona na edeng ke e mona ke ka o ngwana o bula sentsa tseba gore e mona e so ga pshaka yo ntate wa ka yo ntate ngolo wa ka mmalo ka pomalo mo ka o tshwara pang go betsa pang lodi ya bona na edeng ngwana fe dikelelo ha bonolo wa enka. So peace e la bateng sharp mafatsane police station ba la re tsa camp ke la ya camping sharp ba mo ka motivate ke batho ba serious ka life sharp ke yentse ntho ka khutla ma go khutleng wa ka aka khona bona change because batho ba zanga ba attend gore go tsho ba tlo mo re dulang ba bona re phela jwang o etsahalang daleng e tse qala ha obvious re phela ha le poqo taba pele ba ba re se msebetsi re dutse ha ya retse nix hona ntho re tla yetsa obvious go kopana strat no kopana le serasa obvious ya kupa tlamile re lwa.
This incidence of a gang-related violence also happening in Sebokeng, and you guys are from Sebokeng. Tell us about the work that you're doing and why you believe that what you are currently doing could also help assist this particular community.
Good morning to you, good morning to all the viewers. My name is Muntu Kama, known as Stone. I'm from an organization, a non-profitable organization by the name of Taudi Aurora, which is registered under Cultural and Traditional Affairs. We've noticed that most of the gang-related crimes are highly motivated by illegal initiation schools. Therefore, we've got devised strategies that we came up with as Taudi Aurora. These gang-related crimes have been happening for far too long in the Val Triangle, and we've dealt with them correctly by adopting the Initiation Schools Government Gazette that was passed down to us in 2022, and it was adopted by them. We've got workshops that we are attending, and there's screenings that are being done so that things can be done correctly and so that these boys can be taught what they're supposed to be taught.
But who's behind this? Who are the adults behind this? Because surely these can't just be teenagers that are running amok.
Basically, what we've noticed in regards to these gang-related crimes, the illegal initiation schools are performed by young boys, which are teaching boys to be men, which is highly impossible. So basically what they teach them is these gangsterism acts and offenses that they've been doing throughout this week.
Number 3. Al-Qaeda.
In 2022, in the small towns of Klerksdorp and Jouberton in the northwest province of South Africa, the police urged citizens to come forward and open cases, after videos started making rounds where men robbed people in broad daylight. However, the police themselves were the biggest victims of this gang was its wrecking anarchy in a small town. The gang is known as the Al-Qaeda, and its members are famous for brandishing firearms, spinning cars, wearing luxury brands and more often, brawling with the police in the streets, courts, and even assaulting members of the South African police inside their police station. The gang has no regard for the rule of law, and they have complete authority over their territory. Its leader was gunned down by a group of men who were driving in a Toyota Quantum without number plates in broad daylight, while he was standing outside his own vehicle chatting to his friends. The death of the gang leader known as Paul Nguso, also known as Ghost, sent shivers down the spine of the local police, as they were expecting full chaos and lawlessness, as the gang retaliates for the death of its leader. However, the situation remained calm until the day of the gang boss's funeral, where absolute chaos erupted. There were convoys of cars driving to the funeral procession, as members of the gang hung out from the windows, and letting off shots while filming all this for TikTok and Twitter. The police, dressed in tactical gear, came to try to restore order, but could not control the gang as usual. Tear gases and rubber bullets were used by the outnumbered police force who desperately tried to control the situation. The Al-Qaeda gang is famously known for clashing with the police, and therefore anything else they do, they face no repercussions because of the way known to brutalize and taunt the police.
There is political leaders here. We are using dead gangsters. But it's never spoken, it's always spoken only about Bokos and Al-Qaedas. Let's come out with the culprits.
Gangsters in the suit. More battle, but there is a gangster, a politician. Or remove other politicians in position.
One of the rival gangs says the violence was a necessary evil.
For the last 4 years, ntsere harasiwa mo ke maboko. Mo collectwa di tšhelete, mo kolwa di masipala, ba fiwa di tšhelete go councileng, ba uziwa go disrupta le di activity tse di politicale tse di sa kopantsheng sepele business. We never had any intention to participate in more crime or gangsterism.
Fana is one of the leaders of the Al-Qaeda gang He says they are fighting to have businesses stay.
From the so-called people baneba harasa mpakati business cancel baneba collect the protection fee from the small entrepreneurs, your spaza shops, your taverns, your liquor store, bottle stores, raining terror around the township. So about maybe 7 months back, they are so-called Boko Haram, Boko Haram. So I can say we are basically known for that kind of impact.
Many like Fana say gangsterism hasn't paid.
Because really it's a future, and appointment in the future, bro. Recently, na kuenga tarenze re tshwarwa re sa mo cover na kuele setseng ko moragwe babo so gore motho ba tla gore testa gore re soft are test re ready babo but are interested mo lonse re interested mo catch up so answer catch up.
Number 2. When you hear the word Boko Haram, the first thing that pops into one's mind is a terrorist organization from West Africa. But not in this case. This is South Africa's version, a fearless and brutal gang. Unlike the previously mentioned gangs, this one has made its name known over the past decade with racketeering, extortion, intimidation and a long string of crimes that have shocked many people across the country.
A string of crimes in Mamelodi, Pretoria, including murder for hire, mob fees, extortion and building hijacking, are reported to be linked to 3 gangs that rule through fear. Gangsterism has sprawled all over the township, with gangs, Boko Haram, Farasai and Al-Qaeda, accused of being the masterminds behind it all. ENCA senior reporter Aviwe Mtila visited Mamelodi to see what's happening on the ground.
If you want to operate any kind of business in their territory, you will need to pay a fee or else face harm. They even infiltrate government construction tenders, but many of their cases are withdrawn due to lack of witnesses who will take a stand in court, therefore leaving this criminal organization untouched and free to operate without impunity.
In the recent week, we have received reports and concern of communities being terrorized by gang-related activities which are reported to be perpetuated by the so-called business forums named Boko Haram, Farasai and Al-Qaeda, particularly in Mamelodi and its surrounding areas.
These are the gangs that strike fear among businesses and shop owners in Mamelodi, Pretoria.
The Boko Haram, a gang from Mamelodi, reportedly randomly to erode construction sites or any other government-issued tender businesses with an intention to disrupt work on the project and demand a share. Residents of Ikejeng, Kandla Informal Settlement and other parts of Mamelodi say they are being held to ransom by gangsters who control access to water. They say the gangsters demand money for water from the local reservoir. They say the extortionists are members of 2 local gangs known as Boko Haram, who are active in West Mamelodi, and Farasa, who operate in townships in the east.
Mamelodi said to be under siege with gang activities permeating all sectors of the township. Residents claim no one is insulated as gang members collect monthly payments from spaza shops, hijack vehicles and buildings, and control the awarding of contracts and projects in the area. Residents won't speak for fear of reprisals.
Boko Haram in Mamelodi, I have directed the PC that Boko Haram thing must come to an end, which we're able to deal with it. So even the Boko Haram extortionist group must come to an end in Mamelodi.
But this is not new to Mamelodi. The township was subjected to gang terrorism, allegedly at the hands of taxi boss Vusikeke Matibela, before his arrest in 2019. Matibela reportedly ran an extortion ring in the township. Local businesses were forced to pay him a protection fee. Many celebrated his arrest, but new players have seemingly moved in.
We went there, Commissioner, some time ago, and we
created a team. Some people were picked up there. They're in for a long time. They haven't got the bail. The cases are continuing. It's true that the matter and the concern have been raised again, that it looks like there are some new people that has sprung up in the place of their king that was put in, and for that I know for sure that the Gauteng management, under the capable leadership of Lieutenant General Mawela, they're working on that.
The Gauteng Community Safety MEC earlier indicated that a task team had been set up to monitor and investigate this matter. But the DA says the team is failing and has called for urgent measures to rein in the gang.
Boko Haram extortion syndicate operating in Mamelodi, Tshwane, has become so brazen it issues receipts to victims for services rendered. The police have tried to establish intervention and have claimed that since the establishment of both the combat and prevention team and the investigating team dedicated to rooting out gang-related activities in Mamelodi earlier in 2023, they have been observing less and less harassment of the business community in that area. In December 2024, a tavern linked to the gang was shut down for operating without a liquor license, and alcohol worth over 200,000 rands was confiscated.
From Hollywood movies to hit song Amapiano, the name John Wick is taking on a new meaning for residents of Mamelodi in Pretoria. Well, it is now becoming synonymous with vigilante attacks. A man dubbed John Wick is alleged to be targeting a criminal gang called Boko Haram in Soshanguve. So far, he's believed to be behind the deaths of at least 7 people. For more on this, I'm joined now on the line by the SAPS spokesperson, Brigadier Brenda Muridili. Thank you so much for joining me, Brigadier. So what do we know about, let's talk about the latest killing involving this person who is believed to have been a member of this gang called Boko Haram. Was this the most wanted person out of this gang, and what are the circumstances of the death of this person?
Leader of a group terrorizing Mamelodi. He is known to own multiple minibus taxis and a Pretoria nightclub. His 2 associates have also been arrested and appeared in court this week on charges of extortion, intimidation and assault. Matibela is also an accused in the murder of Northwest businessman Wandile Bozwana. He was granted 50,000 rand bail on this matter. His arrest for allegedly terrorizing the Mamelodi community has been welcomed by both Gauteng Premier David Makura and the Police Minister Becky Cele.
Number 1. In the heart of Cape Town's Cape Flats, a name has echoed through generations, the mongrels. Born out of the forced removals of District 6 during apartheid, the mongrels gang is one of the city's oldest and most feared street gangs.
So I had to join the mongrel gang, and they honestly, I found love from them and understanding. It's above explanation. I can't explain it to you because it's a very deep thing, to be honest. I'm willing to give my life for it.
Their insignia, the simple letters MG, scrawled in graffiti across walls, serves as both a warning and a claim of territory. The mongrel stronghold lies in neighborhoods such as Hanover Park, Ottery, and Parkwood, areas where poverty and limited opportunities have long fueled gang recruitment.
Yo, I'm a blading, come. Customers come, run here, come here, come here now.
Wala os kitwong frek.
En alam mo niet terug aan een te oorzaak is maar voor het is wat ons kan gagas hier weer korondang. Hoop dit wat ons hulle spaan gaan nie. Skanga ouens om te ons skanga. Ons man net ons bewys nog maar kwala ons is bereid. British sal staan en dis so onder sklawe wat so is.
Children as young as 12 are drawn into their ranks, seduced by promises of protection, belonging, or quick money.
Every day, this is the size of scissors. As we're walking with, like this. If we catch you after school, then I will take a child and will stab you.
What's this area like? Is it safe? Is it violent?
It's violent, then I'll lay someone dead. So they fighting each other,
Are you in a gang?
Yeah.
Which gang are you in?
Barta, local, blood in, blood out.
Are you scared walking from school?
I'm scared. I was shot 2 times and was young. Now I'm not scared anymore.
You got shot 2 times?
1, 2. Stab me.
Who did that to you?
One of the children, yeah, when we fight under each other.
This is Cape Town, one of the wealthiest cities in Africa. But it's also one of the most unequal and divided cities, and is the country's gang capital. Violence is largely concentrated in a series of townships, known as the Cape Flats. In Hanover Park, a neighborhood of just 50,000 people, shootings and stabbings occur almost daily.
In these communities, the line between victim and perpetrator often blurs, as families live in constant fear of stray bullets and turf wars. For decades, the mongrels have battled rival gangs, groups like Fancy Boys and Fast Guns, in bloody conflicts over drugs and territory. Their activities range from drug trafficking to extortion, and the violence often spills into the lives of ordinary people. One chilling case saw a 7-year-old girl in Parkwood critically injured after being caught in the crossfire, a tragic reminder of how gang wars consume innocent lives. Despite the bloodshed, the mongrels have become woven into the social fabric of the Cape Flats. Some members rise to positions of influence within the gang, commanding respect and fear, while others dream of escape. Stories of men like Fernando Anando, who sought to leave the gang with help from pastors and community programs, show just how hard it is to break free once the mongrels claim you as their own. The gang's power and reach have not gone unnoticed by the media. News cameras and documentaries have captured disturbing images of young boys brandishing guns, or of running street battles where gangsters exchange gunfire in.
Ik sê vir jare wat ons nou al mongrels is, ken ons trong uit. Ander broers skiet 'n man dood, sy gaat tronk toe. So regverdigheid moet ook aankom.
Nando and Bradley joined the Mongol gang as youngsters. We could almost say they're born into the Mongol gang because, you know, it's a whole family was already involved. We zoom in where the need is needed most. We negotiate gang conflicts among different gangs and look at which members would like to make an exit or change their behavior, change their life.
Yo, kay vaka na ko.
Kijk die Korigans, ja, die Korigans. Af te zoom, ja. Ah, die record. Laat hulle die kant toe skiet. Hier is op my proewe. Dis kon nou hier. Achtung.